Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be giving you guys a tutorial on this super cute poncho. It turned out so cute and fun and I'm really excited to share this pattern with you guys. Welcome to Vlogmas Day 2. I hope you guys are enjoying Vlogmas so far. If you haven't seen Vlogmas Day 1, go ahead and check that out. But actually you guys can watch that while you crochet your poncho today. Just a suggestion. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and let's get into it. Contrary to how it looks, it's actually really easy, so let's go. Starting off with materials, you will need some yarn. I'm using 5 colors and I'll put all the names on the screen as well as the brand. And you'll need a crochet hook. I'm using my 4.25mm crochet hook. You'll need some scissors and you'll need a darning needle. And that's all you will need, so let's get into the tutorial. So I will be showing you guys what color I associate with each part of the pattern. So right now we're going to start with the middle of the flower, which I'm using the red for. And I'm gonna go ahead and get this out of the way. Ignore my nails, I need to get them redone, I know, but just ignore them. So we're gonna start off by making a magic ring. So to make a magic ring, just wrap your yarn around your fingers, go under, go over, grab it, pinch it, and let go. And then you're going to chain 2. And inside the magic ring, you're gonna do 12 double crochets. The chain does not count as a double crochet. So to double crochet, wrap around your hook, pull into your loop, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. And I'm gonna do this 11 more times. So on our last double crochet, we're actually going to work a color change. So I'm going to do my double crochet like normal, except I'm only going to pull through the first 2 loops. And then I'm going to get my next color, which for me is going to be the dark yellow. And then once you get your new color, you'll go ahead and wrap it around your hook and pull through with the new color. And you can also pull your magic ring tight and slip stitch into the first double crochet of the row. Now I'm going to go ahead and tie my loose ends in a knot together so that they don't come loose. So now we're going to work the popcorn stitches, which is the petals of the flowers. So I'm going to start off by chaining 2. And then into the first stitch of the round, which is where we slip stitched, we're going to work 4 double crochets. The chain does not count as a double crochet. And while I'm doing this, I'm also going to be working over my tails in the back. So here's 1, right back into that stitch, 2, 3, and 4. Then you're going to pull your loop up a little bit, take your hook out, go back to the first double crochet that we made, and grab that loop and pull through like a slip stitch, like that. And then you'll chain 1 and you'll repeat this all the way around. So I'll show you guys one more time. Do 4 double crochets into the next stitch. Pull that loop up, take your hook out, go back to the first double crochet, grab that loop again, slip stitch, chain 1, and repeat this all the way around. By the end, you should have 12 petals. If you have more or less, you went wrong somewhere, so just go back, retract your steps. So I'm working my last petal. I'm gonna do my 4, but on the last double crochet, you're not gonna pull all the way through because we're gonna do another color change. So I'm on my last double crochet, I'm gonna pull through 2, and then the way that I work this color change is a little bit different than I worked the first one. So you can work it however you'd like, but this is how I prefer to work it. I go ahead and cut my yarn, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut my loose tails while I'm at it because I already tucked those in. I'm gonna grab my new color, which for me is the light yellow. And then the way that I do my color change is I'll go ahead and tie a knot with my new color yarn, like this. Then I'll grab my old color and I'll tie a knot around it. And what this does is basically your yarn will get caught on the knot, so then it won't slip. So now when I pull, it doesn't slip at all. And then I'll go ahead and cut these loose ends. And then I'll pull through And then we're gonna slip stitch into the first stitch of the flower. It's kind of hard to see, but it does not have to be specific. I just kind of go into here and slip stitch, just like so. And you can pop out your petals if you need to. And now we're gonna move on to our mesh row. So to start, you're gonna start by chaining 3. And this time your chain 3 is gonna count as a double crochet. So you're going to work 1 double crochet where we slip stitch in between the 2 petals. So right in here, I'm gonna work my double. And that counts as 2 double crochets because I'm counting the chain. So now I'm gonna chain 3. And then in between the next 2 petals, I'm gonna work a single crochet. I'm gonna repeat that for the next one. So chain 3, work a single crochet in between the next 2 petals. And then we're gonna do another corner round. So chain 3, and you're gonna work 2 double crochets in between the next 2 petals. Like so, chain 3, work 2 more into that same stitch. And here's how you should be looking. And we're gonna repeat this all the way around. So I'm gonna chain 3, single crochet in between the next 2 petals, chain 3, do it again, and then chain 3, do my 2 doubles. So you can kind of recognize the pattern. We're essentially doing our 2 doubles, and then for 2 times we're gonna do our single crochets, and then we'll do our double again. So this way it creates 3 gaps between our corner stitches. So we have 1, 2, and 3. So I'm gonna continue this all the way around. I will show you guys one more time. You're going to chain 3, single crochet in between the next 2 doubles, chain 3, single crochet into the next 2 doubles, and then chain 3, work 2 doubles into the next gap, chain 3, oops, 2 more doubles in that same stitch. So it's essentially just a granny square but with mesh rows instead of double crochet rows. So I'm gonna continue this all the way around and I'll show you guys how to finish off. All right, so I'm back where I started, and this is a corner stitch, so I'm gonna work my 2 double into that stitch, chain 3, and then I'm just gonna work a slip stitch into that first double crochet. Or you could do the chain 3, but I just prefer to do the double crochet. And this is essentially what you're gonna be doing to build up your granny square. I'll show you guys how to do another row. So chain 3, work 1 double in between the 2 doubles, chain 3, work a single crochet on top of the chain 3, chain 3, do it again, chain 3, do it again, and now we're back around to a corner. So we're going to chain 3, work 2 doubles inside of there, chain 3, work 2 more doubles inside of there. And this is what you're going to be doing all the way around, and you'll notice that each row you make, you'll be adding more and more of these single crochets in between the corner stitches. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this with my yellow color for a total of 4 rounds. So I'm on my 2nd round, so I'm gonna finish the 2nd, and then I'm gonna do the 3rd and then the 4th, and then we're gonna do a color change and do the exact same thing. So I will show you guys how to work the color change and to keep on going. Okay, so I've made it back around, and I'm going to chain 3, and I'm gonna only work 1.5 double crochets because we are gonna do our color change again. So the same way I did it last time, I'm gonna cut a tail a little bit longer this time because we still have to chain 3 after our slip stitch. I'm gonna get my new color, tie the knot, and then go ahead and tie it onto our previous color, making sure I catch the knot when I tie it up. And then I'll cut my loose tails, and then I'll just continue like normal. Chain your 3, slip stitch, chain 3 again, and just continue with your new color for 2 rows, and those are the last 2 rows you'll be doing to complete your granny square. So I'm going to keep working and I will come back whenever I finish my 2 rows. Okay, I just finished my final 2 rows, so we should have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. 4 in the yellow, 2 in the sorry. 4 in the yellow, 2 in the white. I was trying to thug it out so hard, but I had to sneeze so bad. So now, don't hate me, guys. Do not hate me for what I'm about to say, but you are going to make 11 more of these. You have to make 12 total, so you'll have 6 in the front and 6 in the back. And once you have 12 made, you guys can come back to this video and I'll show you guys how to move forward. But I already have my 6 done, so I'm about to show you guys how to move forward right now. Okay, so now we're gonna work on connecting our panels. So you're gonna go ahead and grab 6 of your squares and then put aside the other 6 because they are gonna be 2 separate panels. So with your first 6 squares, you're going to, instead of cutting off on your last square, make sure you leave your yarn still connected. But if you cut off, no worries, just reattach. You'll start off by chaining 3, grab another square, and we're gonna connect it using the granny square method. I don't really know what that's called, but it's pretty easy. So to do this, you're going to find the corner stitch of your other granny square, and then we're gonna go ahead and do a slip stitch into that corner stitch. So I'll come up from behind, pull my yarn through, do a slip stitch, chain 3, come back to our first square, and into the second gap, we're gonna work our single crochet, chain 3, then we're gonna come to the second square, go to the second gap and work a slip stitch, chain 3, come back to our first square, find our third gap, work a single crochet into it, chain 3, go back to our second square, find our third stitch, work a slip stitch. And I'm going to continue this all the way around, and what this does is it creates another mesh row in between the 2 mesh rows that we made. So I'll show you guys one more time. We're going to chain 3, come to the first square, find our next open gap, work a single crochet, chain 3, go back to the second square, find our next open gap and work a slip stitch. And everything should line up correctly if you did your slip stitches and your chain 3 and your single crochets all right. Just take your time while doing this so you don't accidentally skip a stitch or work a decrease anywhere. And I will be back whenever I finish connecting my squares. So I'm on the last stitch, and like I said, it should line up. So I'm gonna do my chain 3, single crochet into the last chain 3 row of our first square, chain 3, and then it should line up with the slip stitch for the last row of the second square. Then you're gonna chain 1 and just cut off your yarn. You don't have to worry about leaving a tail because we're gonna work over it later. Pull through, pull tight, and that's how you connect your granny squares. You're gonna do this to all 6 of your granny squares. So you're gonna do the first 6 and then put it aside and then connect the last 6. So you're gonna have 2 big panels full of 6 granny squares all stitched together, and then I will show you guys how to go from there. So this is what it should look like when you have all 6 of your squares attached, and you're gonna make 2 of these like I said. And then once you finish that, let's go ahead and start working on the bottom of the poncho. So here's a little example of what the bottom looks like. I'm gonna start off with ivory and then I'm gonna transition over to green. You can use whatever colors you'd like. I just wanted to show you guys so you don't get confused with any of the colors. So you can go ahead and find where you want to be the bottom of your sweater. It really doesn't matter either way. And you're gonna find the corner stitch and go ahead and attach your yarn. I'm just gonna attach mine with a double crochet. I mean a double knot, whoops, not a double crochet. And then you can go ahead and pull up that loop, chain 3. And I'm gonna be working over all my tails. So this row is basically like a granny stitch row, but with some chains in between. So I'm gonna start off by doing 2 double crochets into this first gap. Our chain 3 is gonna count as a double crochet, so it'll be a total of 3. So here's 1 and 2. And then I'm gonna go right into the next gap and work the same thing, so 3 double crochets. like so. And then after I work my 2 clusters, I'm gonna chain 1, skip the next gap. So I'm gonna skip this chain 3 row and go into the next one. And I'm gonna work 3 doubles. Then I'm not gonna chain or anything. I'll just go right into the next gap and work 3 doubles. And that's essentially what you'll be repeating. So you're gonna do 3 doubles into the next gap, 3 doubles, chain 1, skip a gap into the next gap, 3 doubles, the next gap, 3 doubles, chain 1, skip a gap, 3 doubles, 3 doubles, chain 1, skip it, and continue doing that. So I'm gonna show you guys one more time. Since this time I'm gonna be skipping a gap, I'm gonna chain 1. And you'll always skip a gap after you do your 2 clusters. So I'm gonna chain 1, skip it, go into the next one, and work 3 doubles. And this is a cluster of 2, so I'm going to go into the next gap, don't chain anything, and work 3 again. Like so. So now that we finished that cluster, I'm going to chain 1, skip a gap, go into the next one, work 3. That's 1. I'm going to do another one in the next, without chaining any in between. And now that we finished our cluster of 2, I'm gonna chain 1, skip a gap, go into the next one. Sometimes it can be a little difficult because the gaps in between the 2 squares don't really line up with the gaps that are on top of the 2 squares, but just kind of eyeball it. It does not have to be perfect. Nothing's gonna change the way the sweater looks if you work in between the wrong clusters or anything. Just don't stress about it too much is essentially what I'm trying to say. So for example, like here, you can choose to count this as a gap or you can choose not to count it as a gap, and either way your sweater will turn out the exact same. So don't stress out too much if yours doesn't align with mine or if you get a little confused. Just keep going and you'll be okay. And I'm gonna continue this all the way down and I'll show you guys how to do our next row. Okay, so I finished up my rows and I ended off with a cluster. If you only ended up with half the cluster, that's okay too. No need to worry about it. You can just continue as normal. So I'm gonna chain 3, turn my work. And then in between the clusters is where we're gonna be working our stitches now. So for this round, we're going to work 3 double crochets in between the clusters. So it'll have the chain 1 in between. So right in here, I'm gonna work 3 doubles. So skipping the first one, skipping the second one, going into that one, and working 3. Then you'll chain 1 and work 3 more into that same gap. Then you can chain 1, skip the next 2, and then into the gap that's in between the clusters, I'm gonna work 3 doubles. Chain 1 and then 3 more doubles. And then I'll chain 1, skip these, go into here and work my 3 doubles. Chain 1, 3 more doubles. Chain 1 and continue this all the way down. So in between each of the clusters, you'll work 3, chain 1, 3, chain 1, find the next, chain 1 gap, 3, chain 1, 3, chain 1, find the next, chain 1, and so on and so forth. So I made it to the end of my round, and if you ended off like me with a chain 1 and no space to put your clusters, you can just do a double crochet into the last stitch, like so. And now onto the next row. I'm gonna turn my work, chain 3, and then in between our clusters from the last round, I'm gonna work 3 double crochets. Then you'll chain 3, find the next in between of your clusters and work 3 double crochets. Chain 3, and just continue this all the way down, doing 3 double crochets in between our clusters from the last round. So if you ended off like me, I have another cluster to do, but I have just this half cluster, so I'm gonna work 2 double crochets into the chain. And then chain 3, turn your work. Now we're going to be working in between these gaps, and this is a repeat row of the row we did prior to the one we just did, so it's this one down here. So to do this, you're just going to work 2 double crochets because I'm counting the chain 3 as a double crochet. So it's 3 total. Then you'll chain 1, do another 3 in the same place, chain 1, go into the next chain 3 area and do the exact same thing. So it's 3, chain 1, 3 again. Chain 1, 3, chain 1, 3 again, chain 1, 3, chain 1, 3 again, all the way down till the end of your row. Okay, so I just finished up my row and I'm gonna chain 1 and work it one more time. And there we go. Now we're gonna repeat the row we did under this one. And essentially this is just what we're gonna be alternating. So I'll show you guys how to do this row and then you can go on and do however many rows you'd like. So I'm gonna chain 3, turn my work, and then I'm gonna work 3 double crochets in between the 2 clusters. Our chain 3 is not counting as a double crochet. Chain 3, find your next cluster of 2 and do the exact same thing, which is 3 double crochets in between it. Chain 3, find your next cluster, do your 3. And this is basically the 2 rows that we're going to be repeating. So it's this row and then the one we did under where it's 3, chain 1, 3, chain 1, skip those 2, 3. You know what I'm talking about? I hope you do. So we're going to continue these 2 rows however many times you want, but just remember that there's going to be 2 additional rows that are in your new color. So just keep that in mind when you're working on this row. This is actually going to be my last row in the ivory, but in the sweater I made previous to this one, which was the ivory and green one, I did one more row that I'm about to do. So I did this row and then one more on top of it in my ivory, and then I swept over to my green. But for this one, I'm going to be just doing this row and then I'm gonna switch over to my green because this one's going to be a little bit more cropped. So I'm ending off my row, and like I started, I'm going to end the same way. So I'm going to work a double crochet into the chain, which is essentially the chain from the first part of this row. So now I'm going to switch over to my next color. So I'm going to do my color change. And this row is just going to be our cluster row, but this one is a little bit different since this is like our finishing row. So I'm going to work 3 doubles into the chain 3 space. Chain 1, do the exact same thing, 3 into the chain 3 space. And then chain 1, do my 3, chain 1, 3 again. Where this differs a little bit is not in this row, but in the next row, which since my sweater is a little bit more cropped, I don't know if I'm gonna do 2 rows of the green. I might just do 1 row of the green, but I will still show you guys how to do the 2 rows of the green. So once I finish this round, I'll show you guys how to do that. So we're finishing off the row, and the way that I do it is I just work a double crochet into the 3rd chain. And then you can either cut off here or you can do 1 final row. For your final row, the way it would work is you chain 3, turn your work, and instead of doing 3 double crochets in between the cluster, you're going to work another cluster. So you'll do 3 doubles, a chain 1, 3 more doubles, chain 1 again, into the next, you'll work 3, chain 1, and then 3 again. And then you'll chain 1 and continue this all the way down, and that's how you would work one last final row. Now let's work on the top of our panel. So this is quite similar to what we were just doing. You're gonna find the corner and attach your green yarn or whatever color you're using, and then pull up a loop, chain 3. And this chain 3 is gonna count as our first double crochet. So we're gonna work 2 double crochets into this gap. This way it's 3 total. Then you'll chain 3, skip 1 gap, and then into the next work 3. So this is similar to the very first row we did at the bottom, where we did the clusters and then we skipped 1 and then we did another cluster, but instead we're just going to be doing 3 instead of a full cluster. So I'm going to chain 3 again, skip 1 of the gaps, and work 3 doubles. And this is the pattern for this row, so just continue doing this. You'll just chain 3, skip a gap, work 3 into the next one, chain 3, skip a gap, work 3 into the next one, all the way down until you get to the end. Okay, so I just finished my row with my last double crochet into the last gap. If yours doesn't line up with mine, no worries. You can either skip 2, or you can work maybe 2 and 1 and then 1 in the last, or anything else that kind of just makes it into the last stitch. It doesn't have to be perfect. So now I'm gonna move on to my next row. I'm gonna chain 3, turn our work, and then I'm gonna work 6 double crochets in between this chain 3. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we're not gonna chain anything, we're just gonna go right into the next gap and work 6 again. And just continue this all the way down. It's basically like we've been doing, just we're removing the chain 1s that go in between a lot of the stitches. And keep going all the way down. Okay, so I've made it to the end of my row, and I'm gonna end it like we started it, with 1 double crochet in the chain. And just like that, you have finished your first panel. You're gonna repeat all of this again on your second panel, and then I will come back to show you guys how to connect it and how to do the sleeves. Okay, once you have your 2 panels, we're gonna connect the top where the shoulders are, and we're gonna connect it the same way we connected our squares, where it's the granny square stitch in between and we do our slip stitches. So I already did it for one shoulder. I'm gonna show you guys how to do the other shoulder. So to start off, you're gonna put your 2 panels together. You can put stitch markers where you want your shoulders to stop, but I just kind of try it on and guesstimate. You're gonna start off by slip stitching these 2 sides together, and to do that, I'm just gonna go on my tail, tie my yarn back on, and then attach it that way. All right, so my yarn is attached, so now I'm going to, like I said, slip stitch them. So to do that, I'm just gonna put my hook in between the first 2 gaps of the row. Then I'm gonna pull up a loop, and now they're connected. So we're gonna chain 3, and into the panel that's in front of you, in between the cluster. We didn't do a chain 1, so it's a little bit harder to find, but you'll count 1, 2, 3, and then in between the 2 sets of 3, we're gonna work 3 double crochets. And then once you work your 3 double crochets, you're gonna come around to the back and into that same stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and then in between, we're going to do a slip stitch, like so. And then we're not gonna chain anything. We're just gonna go onto the next cluster, find the in between the 2, 3, and work 3 doubles. Then come around back, go in between the 2 sets of 3, and slip stitch. So I'll show you guys one more time. We're going to not chain anything and do 3 doubles in between the 2 sets of 3. come around to the back, find the gap that's in between the 3 doubles and slip stitch into it. And you'll just continue this until you get the length that you want for your shoulder. And I will tell you guys how many I end up doing. If this is a little bit confusing for you, you can also just sew it together. But I like to do this because it creates an extra row. So I will let you guys know how many rows I end up doing for the shoulder. Okay, so I did 14 clusters to connect the shoulders, and then go ahead and do that on the other side. And now you have a neck hole, you can try it on, see if there's anything you want to fix or adjust, and then we'll move on to the sleeves. So now moving on to the sleeve, I'm gonna find my way to the armhole. And starting off with the color that we did the top of our shoulders with. And then I'm gonna connect my yarn at the bottom of the color that we did before our last color of the round. So mine is ivory. And I'll go ahead and just attach it with a double knot. And then I will pull up a loop and slip stitch the 2 sides together. All right, now we're gonna start. So we're just gonna be doing our chain 3 single crochet rows. So I'm gonna start off by chaining 3. And then since it's not super specific, I'm kind of just gonna guesstimate where to put my single crochet. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it here, and I'm gonna work over my tails. And then chain 3, kind of another guessing one. Put a single crochet. Chain 3. Another guess, chain 3, single crochet, chain 3, and eventually things should start making sense because you're just going into the granny square again. So I'm going to chain 3, single crochet into the previous chain 3, chain 3, and I'm going to work this all the way around until I get back to my first chain 3 of the round. So I've made it back around, and here is my first chain 3 of the round. You can slip stitch and continue, but I'm just gonna work my single crochet into there and just keep working the round, kind of noting in my head when I come back around to the next row, into the next row. And you're gonna repeat this for 3 total rows. So for 2 more rows, I'm just gonna do my chain 3 and single crochet into the gap. And if you're doing my method where you're just kind of going without a stitch marker or slip stitching or anything, just keep an eye out for when you have 3 evenly across your sleeve. Okay, so I've made it to the end and I have my 3 rows, and I know I've made it to the end because all of my stitches have 3, and I've also finished where I started. So now I'm gonna work a color change, and I'm gonna go back to my base color, which for me is ivory. So I've done my color change, and these next 2 rows are gonna be a little bit different because this is the rows that are gonna make our sleeves ruffle. So I'm gonna start by chaining 3, and I'm gonna work like normal with my single crochet into the next chain 3 space, chain 3, continue doing this, and then 1 more time. So now that we have 1, 2, 3 single crochets, we're gonna do a little point, a little peak, and we've done this before, so it's nothing different. We're gonna chain 3, and then into the next gap, we're gonna work 2 double crochets, a chain 1, and then 2 more double crochets into that same stitch. Like so. And then you'll just continue like normal, chain 3, do a single, chain 3, another single, and then chain 3, our last single. And this is just like how we worked the granny square. And then we'll chain 3, work 2 doubles, chain 1, and then work 2 more doubles. And you'll just continue this all the way around, making sure you have 1, 2, 3 singles, and then you'll do your double row. And then once you make it around, it might not add up, like you might not have 3 and then your peak, because mine definitely didn't do that. So you can just kind of guesstimate how you want it to look when you get to the end. It really doesn't matter because it's not going to be seen. But yeah, right now I have 4 in between my 2 peaks when I'm supposed to have 3. Maybe you have 2, maybe you have 1, maybe you just don't have a peak at all, and that's okay. Don't stress out about it at all. So I'm gonna do 1 more row just like that in the white. So I'm gonna chain 3, single, chain 3, and then once I make it to my peak, I'll chain 3. In between where I did the chain 1, I'll do my 2 doubles, my chain 1, and then my 2 more doubles. like so, right on top of it. And then I'll chain 3 and just continue all the way back down. And I'm gonna do this all the way around. So then we have 2 total rows of peaks. And then after this, we'll line it with single crochets. Okay, I've made it around to the beginning of my row and I have 1 more single crochet, but before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and work my color change, and I'm gonna switch back over to the color that we used for our flowers. So mine is the dark yellow. So onto our single crochet rows, the way that I do them is I work 3 single crochets in the chain 3 spaces. So here's 1, 2, 3, and then I'll work a single crochet in that previous single crochet from the round before. I'm sorry it's getting a little bit dark. The sun is going down, so the lighting is kind of bad. Let me try to fix it. Okay, I got a little bit of a better light. I probably should have did this a long time ago, so I'm sorry about that. But I'm gonna work my single crochet in the previous single, and then 3 in the gap again. And then 1 in the previous single, 3 in the gap. And then I'm gonna work a single crochet in each of the double crochets. So here's 1 and 2. And then in between the peak, I'm gonna work 2 single crochets just to kind of enhance it a little bit. And then my 2 singles in the 2 doubles. And then 3. Then 1 in the single crochet. And you'll just continue this all the way around, and you'll notice that it'll start to ruffle. And I will meet you guys back to end off the row. So I've made it to the end, and I'm gonna go ahead and slip stitch into the first stitch, chain 1, and cut off, leaving a tail so I can weave it in later. And then you're gonna go ahead and do this to the other side, so you'll have 2 sleeves. And then after this, we have 1 more painfully time-consuming detail, and then we are done. So let's do it. So moving on to our tassels, we actually work this separate from the sweater, and then we attach them onto it. So you're gonna start off by doing a magic ring, chain 1, and inside the magic ring, do 5 single crochets. Then you can pull your magic ring nice and tight. And then go ahead and slip stitch into that first single crochet. Then you'll chain 5. Go ahead and grab your poncho. And at the bottom, you're gonna go all the way to the corner. This is where my first cluster starts on this half of the panel, so that's where I'll put it. But if one of your clusters is a half cluster, such as this one, since you don't have a chain 1 in between, I would just ignore it and then do the one that's next to it. Or you could just do it in between if you'd like, but I choose to just ignore it because it's not really seen anyways, so I just ignore it and work into the one that's next to it. So find where you need to attach it, and then with it attached onto your hook, you'll go ahead and just pull it through like a slip stitch. Chain 1, and then cut your yarn, leaving a tail. And then you can pull it nice and tight all the way through. And the reason why this is so painfully time consuming is not because of the actual tassels, but it's because of weaving in the ends. So what I like to do is just weave in the ends as I go. That way, whenever I'm done, I'm really done. So since we worked over the tail in the magic ring, you don't have to weave in that end, so you can cut that one off. But as for the tail that you use to attach it, I just go on the wrong side of the project and just go through some stitches to tuck it in. Like so. And then I'll cut it. And then you're gonna do this all the way around, and once you do that, you will be completed with your project. All that's left to do is sew in loose ends, and I recommend steaming it because these tassels can get a little bit stiff. So I would recommend steaming it, but you definitely don't have to. But if you are gonna steam it in whatever way you like to steam it. I like to steam mine with a actual steamer. And when I say steam it, I mean blocking. My preferred method of blocking is steaming with acrylic yarn projects. So you can look up a tutorial on how to steam it if you don't already know how. But that is how you make this poncho. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed and you have a super cute new poncho like me and we can match. If you guys make this, be sure to tag me because I want to see what colors you guys used and how you styled it, and I would love to see you guys in it. And I really hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you guys tomorrow for Vlogmas Day 3. Bye! Love you!